Hi, this is Module 13, Case Study. When a student's rights are wrong, this is for EDL 853, Special Education for Building Administrators. First, summarize the case and establish the facts. Dover Unified School District has 6 elementary schools, 2 middle, and 1 high school. Nottingham High School has 3,200 students. It was built in the 1950s. 75% of the buildings are ADA compliant, but 25% are not. They do have some movable trailers that are used for some classrooms. They do have a strong football program. The superintendent is Dr. Harvey. He has created a strong relationship with staff members. The case surrounds Miguel Hernandez. His family moved to Dover because of academics and the football program. He was a starting quarterback as a sophomore, the first ever in the history. He is talented, dependable, strong work ethic, and is a leader. An injury happened. Miguel was hit by an opposing football player during a football game, suffered a spinal injury, paralyzed from the waist down, was unable to walk. Months of rehabilitation, and he has kept up with his studies throughout this whole entire time. Prior to Miguel's return to school, his parents, Mr. and Mrs. Hernandez, met with Mrs. Guzman, which is the school counselor, informed that he would be using a wheelchair and he would need access to classrooms. No need for additional accommodations. That was it. They stated that he will be just fine and he is eager to get back to school. 2 weeks later, he returned to school. Assembly was held to welcome him back. During first block, he was told to go see Mrs. Guzman. A schedule had been changed for his third period class. He would no longer be in biology due to no wheelchair access to the classroom. He was going to enroll in another science class. This class meets the requirements to graduate. Does not necessarily qualify for a college preparatory class, however. Following day, Mrs. Hernandez contacted the counselor's office. She seemed really upset. They set a meeting for the same afternoon. In the meeting, Mrs. Hernandez had questioned why Miguel had been denied access to his biology class. Why haven't they been notified of this change? She demanded that he be reinstated into the biology class, as Miguel planned to attend college, and this class was required for college that he wants to attend. Mr. Hernandez arrived a little bit later. He introduced Howard Carey, Miguel's attorney. The attorney states that there is a problem. He asked, "Are you aware of Section 504? Do you understand the implications?" He says that Miguel has the right to a free and appropriate education. Specific services needed are access to the biology class and anything else we deem necessary to ensure Miguel's rights are protected. Legal issues. Secondly, the legal or ethical issues that are persistent. Rehabilitation Act of 1973, Section 504, Miguel is protected by this law. It's a federal law designed to protect the rights of individuals with disabilities. It requires school districts to provide free, appropriate public education. Education plan is designed comparable to that provided by a non-disabled student. Students must eliminate barriers for access to allow full participation in school activities, which include general education. Accommodations must be given to the child, meaningful equal opportunities, consideration of the functional limitations. The school must provide a plan for providing reasonable accommodations. Next is the Individuals with Disabilities Act, or IDA. Miguel is not qualified for IDA because his disability does not fall under one of the 13 categories. Continue the legal and ethical issues that are persistent. Americans with Disability Act, or ADA. Title II protects education of disabled people. Miguel's protected. Um, Eligibility is based on functional impact of a physical or mental impairment. Schools are required to make reasonable accommodations or modifications as necessary to ensure persons with disabilities access to goods and services. Have program access in an integrated setting. Included could be relocating a class or activity to a different room in a building. Ethical issues here. Mrs. Guzman, the counselor, does she know the laws? Why weren't the Hernandez communicated with earlier? Why wasn't the principal included in the conversation and meeting? To this point, I, as a principal, still not sure if I know this is all happening yet. Why wasn't the superintendent notified? Section 2. Thirdly, the people that have been harmed by the action. First and foremost, the Hernandez family, Miguel specifically, as it could possibly damage his future education. I think the Dover School District is going to be harmed as well. Bad publicity, costs possibly of either fixing the issue or a lawsuit or whatever. Community members, I think, are harmed as well, especially the football community. Section 3, then synthesize exactly what has happened in a single sentence. Miguel Hernandez was paralyzed from the waist down during a football game. The school counselor submitted his college Miguel Hernandez was paralyzed from the waist down during a football game. The school counselor substituted his college preparatory class for a non-preparatory class because the classroom is not handicapped accessible. Section 4, above all, the known facts of the case and what facts are unknown. We know that Mrs. Guzman is the counselor at Nottingham High School. Mr. and Mrs. Hernandez, they live in Dover, parents of Miguel. We have Miguel Hernandez. He is a student at Nottingham High School. He was injured in the football, had a football injury. He is a disabled student. Dr. Harvey is the superintendent of Dover High School. We do not know very much about the customs, norms, personalities, race, gender, or sources of political power surrounding the Hernandez family. So that is unknown. Section 5. Next, review and prioritize the information. Stakeholders and community. Damaging effect. Football is a tremendous priority in Dover. The stadium was full of stakeholders when the injury occurred. Miguel is the quarterback of the team, is like family to all stakeholders. Schools this size have a lot of students involved with football. Therefore, a lot of family members involved. Key stake in the outcome. Miguel Hernandez family, players, students, community members, high school, school district. Stakeholders have not been consulted. Me as a principal, superintendent, board of education, facilities department, possibly the district attorney. What I do not know, the ethnicity and culture of the Hernandez family. What is the classroom in need of to be handicap accessible? How long does it take to fix this issue? And the cost to fix it. Do not know much about the community as well. The bottom line, as a principal, I have enough information to make a decision to ensure legal compliance to laws that protect Miguel's rights as a student with a disability. Section 6. At this time, I will identify my options and possible consequences. Option number 1. Simply swap classrooms and necessary equipment to another classroom that is handicapped accessible. This will solve the accessibility issue and allow Miguel access to biology class. Consequences here, there's not much financial cost. Miguel stays in biology. District has found a way to be compliant to laws. This is a way to advocate for equitable access to educational resources and opportunities. The second option, hire an attorney to fight the Hernandez on this issue, claiming that reasonable accommodations are outlined in the ADA is considered legal. A reasonable combination is Miguel to change the science class. Consequences here, possibly win the court case, could possibly lose the court case. Miguel loses educational opportunities, period. That's not what is best for a student right there. Third option is fix the physical access due to the fix the physical access issue of the classroom. At some point, this needs to be fixed anyway. It seems like a great opportunity to get it fixed and be up with ADA compliance. Miguel stays in consequences. He stays in biology. Increased stakeholder support. The classroom and district are now legally compliant with all laws. Section 7. Furthermore, it is time to evaluate the options. Miguel stays in, if we just swap classrooms, Miguel stays in biology. Accessibility issue is solved. Cons are swapping out the equipment in each classroom, teachers' classes to be taught in other rooms needed. Hopeful results, issue is resolved. Community support, Hernandez are content. No financial cost, district is in compliance, and no legal action. The second option, win the court case, no changes to the current situations. Cons, legal action, financial loss, upset stakeholders, issues that are not fixed. Possibly hopeful results are win the court case and no other actions are needed. The third option, Miguel stays in biology. Accessibility issue is solved now and for the future. It could be expensive, time sensitive. How long will it take to fix? Do not know that information. Hopeful results, community support, issue resolved. Accessibility issue is fixed now and for the future. Hernandez are content. District isn't compliant. Most stakeholders are content and no legal action. Above all, what is the best option? As a principal, it is essential to choose options that I evaluate, cultivate, and advocate for equitable access to educational resources. Transparency. Immediately communicate the information and facts to stakeholders in a personal face-to-face meeting. Take responsibility. The lack of communication in school has created this mistake. Plan. Cultivate and advocate a plan for equitable access. Implement. Swap classrooms with handicap accessible room and move necessary equipment to the room for equitable access by the next class period. Validate, advocate, and cultivate the switch classrooms to support the educational success of Miguel. Section 9. Finally, imagine implementing your decision. Step 1 is immediately have a meeting. Take responsibility. Explain to the stakeholders what we made a mistake in communicating in Miguel's needs. In the meeting, be transparent. Communicate the facts and information. Gather input from the stakeholders in this meeting. Promote collaborative effort. Then evaluate and develop a plan exchanging the classrooms. Step 3 is implement. Advocate the need and the laws to protect students with disabilities. Detail all essential equipment and resources must move immediately. Notify facility staff in process of moving equipment and curriculum. I will help with the process as well as other administrators. Step 5 is to physically swap the equipment and resources. Final step is evaluate, advocate, and cultivate the switch classrooms to support the educational success and well-being of Miguel. Plan B is to fix this accessibility issue of the biology classroom. This must be done in a timely manner, and I would give that to be within 1 week. I feel like we as a school district made a mistake. We had 2 weeks to fix the issue, but we didn't. I feel like as a principal, I should have known about what was happening, but I don't think I did. At least nothing that has been told. I feel like I would have a conversation with our school counselor and just to make sure that she understands what's at stake here. The bottom line is I feel like we have to do what is best for the student. And that's